y'all. So hopefully you can hear me well. If you can, give me a thumbs up. I was just sitting here going on a rant in my head, and I realized I might as well push go and share it. So, what I was thinking about is how so many people pay for online education and fall through the cracks. What percentage do you think of people who take some online class, any sort of online class, just don't even remember 25% of the material or even use it in their current lives? Um, I think there's a number of reasons why that happens, and maybe we can have a conversation or a panel about that one day. But for me, well, generally I was a straight A type of student um, up until a few occurrences in my life, which you may or may not know about so far. I only made a D twice in my life. First time was the last semester of senior physics in high school at the High School for Performing Arts. My dad had been recently diagnosed with cancer, and I loved physics and the study of it, but I just didn't have time to do the homework. And the other D, the second D, was in college, which I finished early. Still managed to get some sort of honors, but I nearly failed the only online class that I personally took in my Bachelor of Arts degree, and it was in American history. I forget if it was the first half or second half of American history, but while I might say I'm interested in American history now, at that time in my life, that was just not a subject that interested me. And so if you're going to take an online class and you wanted a tip, my first tip to you would be take it in a subject that you know you like, because I was going through a bit of a rough patch at that time in my life as well. I guess it wasn't really that far apart in retrospect. And I could show up to class and I could absorb the material through engaging with at least maybe eye contact every once in a while with the teacher, through engaging by answering questions and doing the in-class work. And I could learn very efficiently in those scenarios, at least efficiently if I had a instructor that I vibed with, if you know what I mean. So even though I was suffering from a sort of depression and grief that made it difficult for me to complete my homework, I could show up to all my other classes, and if I just stayed on campus a little bit, then I could get most of the homework done. So, but I would just forget about the history class, the online class, and I would just start to read the long text required for that class, and not having the engagement of, or the engagingness, is that a word, of the professor speaking to me, I would just not finish it. So it's been interesting to wonder about all the different elements of what was going on there now, as I know a little bit more, or now as I know more and more about the brain and the mind and how it works. But there have since then been a few times in my life where, as someone who knew that I have a light to shine musically, but wasn't really sure exactly how to get it out there in the world, or how to express it in English, you might say, I've purchased some business courses, do online business, that sort of thing, and I found that while the advice was great, without the engagement with the the professor, so to speak, I just didn't get the success that I was looking for. I maybe absorbed 25% of the material, or was only using 25% of the material. So since that first business course that I got some great advice on that I did not take as much action on as I'd hoped I might, or did not get as much support or accountability as I had hoped I might, I have discovered that one of the unique things that I can help people with in this world, in this time and place, is improving their improvising. Getting off of the sheet music, getting off of the page, getting outside of the box, and playing freely. And so part of what I'm doing is part counselor, and part of what I'm doing is part flute teacher or music teacher, and part of what I'm doing is jam session buddy. So what I've been beta testing for a couple of months now is not group improv classes, more like group improv jam sessions, but I've been calling them group improv games. Now, have any of you had friends who are into acting, who were doing improv acting, and maybe some improv games? There's something that happens for us psychologically when we're having fun. When we're playing games, we remember things. We might remember things in 5 or 10 repetitions playing games, where if we're just reading it in a book or just hearing it passively, it could take us 400 repetitions. So I also understand that there are a lot of people out there in the online world who have been done wrong in online business, or done wrong by somebody who has an online business, and so they're hesitant to engage on that level in the world. So I do my best to... I always want to act ethically in the favor of the customer, and in the favor of not me. Of course I want to take care of my needs, but in favor of the vision that I have, which is more music in the world. Not just more music, but more healing in the world through music. God knows we need it. So I believe that small steps in improvisation can be taken in games together in a group of peers, where instead of going to an online class and just listening and maybe not getting it, maybe you're getting it, maybe you're not getting it, maybe you're getting this part but you're not getting this part, with no feedback from either the teacher or your peers who are at some point on the same journey that you're on. They're either ahead of you, or maybe they're a little behind you, or it's somewhere else in this different field of improvisation. But I believe we can all improvise. If you can talk, you can sing, and if you can play your instrument, you can improvise. Our inner critic is there to keep us from getting ousted, I guess, by our communities, but fortunately we're not in a caveman society right now, or anymore, where we have to worry about our food, water, shelter, and clothing. So I'm saying that to remind you, if you're struggling with feeling afraid or anxious when you improvise or play music in the privacy of your own practice room or home, then ask yourself, am I in any real danger right now? For those of you who are watching now or in the replay, I would be curious to hear, have you seen that movie Inside Out, or now there's Inside Out 2? I love the way that movie is animated, because it shows like the internal feelings. It animates in a way that we can see those feelings of sadness or shame or embarrassment or joy. Joy is probably my favorite. So anyway, when you come, or if you come to my group improv game sessions, you can know that you will be playing probably about 33% of the time, about a third of the time, a third percent, I mean a third of the time. I kind of base it off of this idea: if we have two ears and one mouth for a reason, we should listen more than we speak, or listen more than we play. And so you'll be playing in duets and trios with others, maybe a few solos or solos with backing tracks, but I do provide some constructive criticism, and mostly, though, I am encouraging you all to listen to yourselves and listen to each other, and provide constructive criticism to each other, because we're each seeking our own unique voice, and sometimes someone from over there can hear it from a different perspective than we can, steeped sometimes in historical shame, or a history of feeling ashamed of making a mistake. You have to make mistakes to learn music, and improvising is not as much about not making mistakes as about recovering from them gracefully, or using them as a seed for a new idea. So if you would like to see how this format is working out on Zoom, we are using Zoom audio, just send me a message. I'll be happy to show you how to engage the new original sound for musicians setting on Zoom, and you can see how far it's come. I am exploring some new technologies for next year, so if you're into that sort of thing, please don't hesitate to drop a comment or send me a message, because it's going to be fun. Who wants to play some improv games tomorrow? Cheers.